In the first scenes of the film, a mother sews two dresses together for her daughters. Then the film shifts to a woman named Pim who arrives at her home. She notices that there is no electricity inside, and then she hears a noise that startles her. Suddenly, the lights turn on, and her husband, Wee, along with their friends, wish her a happy birthday. Later, one of their friends gives them a cake, and we find out that Wee is diabetic. Now they are all sitting together, and one of the friends predicts Pim's future through the cards. She informs her that something she lost is about to reappear. She asks if she has ever broken a promise to someone. If yes, that person will probably return, and then everyone laughs. Later, her husband receives a phone call in the middle of the night from a Thai hospital, warning him that Pim's mother has had a stroke. Later, we see her in the toilet, where a surgical scar on her belly is visible. At this point, a flashback appears in which we see her twin sister, Ploy, about whom we still know nothing. Pim wakes up on a plane and says she doesn't want to go home. We learn that Pim and Ploy were conjoined twins, that is, born physically connected to each other. Many years later, Pim insisted on having surgery. Unfortunately, however, Ploy didn't survive, and now Pim feels guilty. Wee consoles her by saying that Ploy's death was not her fault. In the next scene, they arrive at the hospital, where the doctor informs her that her mother is paralyzed. Since the hemorrhage is putting pressure on her brainstem, surgery will have to be performed after her state improves. After many years, the woman returns to her old home, and we witness a flashback in which little Pim and Ploy are playing the piano together. The woman enters their room and discovers an old photo album containing pictures of her and Ploy. Wee is outside listening to a record. Pim approaches and says that this was Ploy's favorite song. Noi, their maid, approaches and says she is going home. Pim tells her that she can stay if she wants, but Noi politely refuses. Pim is in the bathroom late at night when she notices an infinity mark on the mirror that was not there before. When she sees it, she gets worried but doesn't pay much attention and goes to sleep. After a while, she is frightened by Ploy's ghost, but soon after, she notices that no one is there. The next day, she goes to visit her mother in the hospital and tries to tell her something, but the nurse comes in and interrupts her. Later, she asks Noi what happened the day her mother got hurt, but the maid admits that she doesn't know. Pim asks if she noticed anything unusual in her mother's behavior. Noi says she preferred to stay in her room and cry all day. Sometimes she had the impression that her mother was terrified of something. Later, Pim goes to get a coffee that accidentally spills on her shirt. Suddenly, Pim notices that there is blood leaking from her belly and spilling on the floor. When a nurse arrives, Pim realizes that these were hallucinations. The doctor tells her that her mother's condition has improved, but she is still in a coma. The next day, Pim hears her dog, Lucky, barking and goes to check on him. She notices him barking in front of a mirror, at which point Ploy appears and Pim falls down the stairs. Subsequently, Pim is taken to the hospital. She goes to the bathroom where she sees Ploy in the mirror and starts smashing it. Wee arrives after hearing her screams and asks what's wrong. Pim tells him she has seen her twin, but Wee is puzzled and advises her to see an expert. The next day, Wee introduces Pim to one of his friends, Denai, a psychiatrist. At that point, Pim storms off. Wee tries to stop her, but she reverses her car, accidentally killing the dog. Later, we see her in a session with Denai. The psychiatrist assures her that turning to an expert doesn't mean she is crazy. Anyone could have the same illness as her, which is treatable with time. He then asks her to tell him something about Ploy. She informs him that they had promised to stay together forever. Pim has always been incredibly loving, compassionate, and protective of Ploy, despite her harsh and cold nature. Denai informs Wee that Pim is suffering from a minor psychosis. She cannot distinguish between imagination and reality. Denai tells him that she can be cured and advises him to take her back to Korea so she can get a change of scenery. Later, we see Pim walking on a beach. When she turns to go back, she notices someone else's footsteps besides her own. Terrified, she starts running home. Then she hears Wee chatting with someone and is surprised to see Ploy in the house with him. Ploy looks back, but it was all a dream. She dozes off again and notices someone's feet on top of her. Pim hears a strange sound and looks up to discover Ploy's ghost hanging from the fan, which frightens her immensely. Wee tells Denai everything the next day and asks him if one twin dies, will the other die the same way? He tells Denai that Pim is convinced that Ploy has returned to kill her. Denai explains that twins may have an unconscious relationship. Nevertheless, the fact that Pim is emotionally attached to her deceased sister may cause her to have these hallucinations. Pim tries to relax in the bathtub at home. Ploy's spirit suddenly pushes her into the water. Pim manages to get out of the tub and then the lights go out. She gets out to look for the flashlight, but she hears a noise behind her. She falls to the ground, terrified, and is continually tormented by Ploy. Wee arrives a short time later and she tells him she has seen Ploy again. The next day, Denai informs her that what she is experiencing is a figment of her imagination. She cannot get rid of her twin, and that is why she keeps seeing her. He shows her a mirror and asks her to describe what she sees in it. In a flashback, we discover that Pim and Ploy love the same guy. Ploy noticed that he prefers Pim and gets jealous. Wee decides to see Pim after she recovered from an illness. Ploy refuses to get out of bed despite Pim's desire to visit Wee. Pim, enraged in tears, demands that she and Ploy be separated. Pim feels guilty about separating from Ploy, convinced that it killed her. On the other hand, Denai tells her that when she stops blaming herself, she will stop seeing her twin's vision. The next day, Pim notices Ploy resting her head on her shoulder in the hospital elevator. She is horrified by this, but a moment later, everything returns to normal. When she returns home, Wee informs her that the hospital in Korea has approved the transfer, and they can now go home. During a thunderstorm, Wee proceeds to close the window of Pim and Ploy's childhood room. Then, while he is moving something from under the bed, he hears a noise and realizes that someone is standing on top of it. But when he checks it, there is no one on the bed. Then, he discovers an old drawing under the mattress and asks Pim if Ploy has destroyed the picture he painted for her. He also realizes that the girls have separated because of him. In a flashback, Ploy is destroying that painting, and Pim, enraged, declares that she wants to separate from her. When Pim goes to bed that night, she hears Ploy breathing by her side. But when she turns back, there is no one there. The next day, Pim meets with Denai again, who is still unsure whether what she sees is real or not without scientific confirmation. Pim angrily screams that Ploy is real and still present. Desperate, Pim then burns Ploy's objects, including her photo, in the hope of kicking her out of the real world. She then goes to get her clothes, but Ploy follows her. The woman panics and drives away, but Ploy follows her, and Pim heads for the daycare center, speeding away in her car. At one point, Pim sees Wee coming. She hugs him and begs him to help her, but only then does she realize that it's Ploy. When Wee returns home, she finds Pim unconscious. He takes her inside and she wakes up terrified. He calms her down and informs her that they will return to Korea. When he is about to take her to the hospital, he discovers that there is someone sitting on the couch. He ignores this and urgently takes Pim to the hospital. Wee tells her that he will transfer her mother to Korea tonight. He then approaches her mother, who grabs his shirt and says something to him. Wee rushes to the cemetery and is shocked to find Pim's grave. At this point, it's become obvious that Pim is actually Ploy. Wee returns home to confront Ploy and she cries, saying that her mother has died. When Wee asks why she died, she lies to him, claiming that her condition had worsened. On the other hand, in a flashback, we see her removing the oxygen tube to prevent her from telling Wee the truth. Wee reveals that he spoke with her before she died and knows the truth. Tearfully asks how Pim died. And in a flashback, we see Pim trying to convince Ploy to separate through surgery. Ploy says they will stay together until they die, but Pim replies that she is a burden on her life. Ploy becomes enraged and begins to strangle her, to the point of killing her. Ploy recovers from her anger, and now that Pim is dead, she realizes what she has done. Ploy calls for her mother to help and then assumes the identity of Pim. Nevertheless, a mother can always tell her children apart, which is why Ploy sent her to the hospital. Ploy's actions disgust and frighten Wee, who decides to leave her. but she knocks him out. When he regains consciousness, he wakes up tied to a chair. Ploy arrives just after he tries to free himself. She claims that everyone adored Pym, and this made her jealous. Also, Ploy loved him, but he was only interested in Pym. So, the only way to be together was to pretend to be Pym. Then she starts to inject him with insulin, but the needle breaks in his body. Wee hits her, and Ploy runs away. She then returns and throws her dog's severed head at him. At that moment, the maid rings the doorbell, and Ploy goes to open the door. Noi says she forgot her cell phone in the house. Meanwhile, Wee tries to break free, and when Ploy returns, she realizes that he is no longer there. Wee discovers that there is gasoline all over the house, and Ploy orders him to return, or she will set the house on fire. Wee confronts her, and a fight breaks out, during which she drops the lighter and the house catches fire. Then the two fall down the stairs, and Wee breaks his leg. He crawls out of the house, and in doing so, discovers a dead body. Ploy appears and starts to strangle him, but notices Pym and him and gets frightened. Wee tries to flee the house and pushes a shelf at Ploy. Pym's spirit confronts and restrains Ploy, and as the burning rubble crashes down on them, Pym smiles, and Ploy dies. Sometime later, Wee visits the twins' grave and places on the tombstone Pym's necklace that he had given her. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.